I will never understand these people. Like, it doesn't matter if I know what to say. Maybe I know how to structure some sentences. I can't understand what they are saying. They just speak too fast. I applied for this program. It was a volunteership. So I had to teach Spanish and they will teach me English at the university. O interesarte por ese tema. Yo creo que muchas personas que aprenden inglés están aprendiendo porque tienen que aprender, porque es importante para la vida, ¿no?
Hola, buenos días.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Excelente. ¿Y tú?
Muy bien, muy bien.
Me alegro. I'm very excited to hear your journey this morning. And can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? What is your name and where are you from?
Okay, perfect. Well, my name is Angela, Angela, it depends. People just decide one of them. I like both. And I'm from Colombia. I was born in Bogota. Yeah. Now I live in the UK.
Okay, excelente. And where does your language learning journey start? I suppose, when you're a little kid, how many languages were spoken in your household?
When I was a child, only Spanish. Yeah, so we were supposed to be learning. I imagine that you have heard that English when we're at school. So yeah, you take some English lessons, but at home only Spanish. Yeah.
Okay, only Spanish. And Spanish is your native language. Okay. And when did you start learning English?
Uh, well, we could say that maybe at school, but when it really got serious, let's say, was when I finished my high school. High school when I was 16, we finished our high school bachillerato a bit earlier than in the USA. So you are 16, you feel a bit young to join the university yet or college. So it's very common that people just take some extra courses or diplomas or something before getting into the university thing. So what I did was to study English, like sort of a immersion intensive, an intensive course during that period of time, and that's where I started looking at it and okay, I need to speak the language. So I was 16 when that started happening.
Okay, when you're 16. And what did you find difficult about learning English at the time?
Oh, I remember a lot. I have this memory because now I look back at it and I think, whew, thankfully that changed. But I remember that when back in time, you were able in Colombia when you have cable TV cable thing, you were able to find some settings in the TV, those big square ones, to change it to have the original sound, right? So we have the
Mhm.
dubbing all the time, and we just got used to it. We don't even think if they originally speak in English. But I was learning English, so I thought, let's change it, and I made that change, and I couldn't understand a word. And I think it was friends, something from New York. It was New Yorkers talking, and it was Hollywood type movie. Like the story was very simple. And I remember that I was very frustrated because I thought I will never understand these people. Like it doesn't matter if I know what to say, maybe I know how to structure some sentences. I can't understand what they are saying. They just speak too fast. I was very sad. I just thought, well, maybe that's it. Maybe you never learn to speak a second language or to understand them. So yeah, I remember that's the frustration. Listening was the
Sure.
most complicated part for me. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Was it for you with the Spanish? I'm curious.
Oh no, it still is actually. It still
It
is.
is.
I just had a conversation with my friend yesterday about it. I don't know why, but it seems like no matter how many people I meet, how many, Spanish speakers that I speak to, it's still difficult for me to understand them. It's for me, it's weird. I don't understand it half of the time.
It's just a smile and nod and hope for the best. Yeah.
I say see a lot.
I've done that as well. Yeah.
And then in your classes, what do they teach you?
Oh, well, I learned with a very traditional methodology, right? Like nothing new, nothing extraordinary, just books, textbooks with this traditional CD on the recorder, and all the picture that you have of a language teacher with a little recorder going here and there. That was the type of teachers I had all the time. So you were just getting some structure, some grammar things, uh, practice fill in blanks. and then some listening. The listening always came from different countries. So one year maybe you had, something from what's the name? Michigan publishers, and then you had one from Oxford. So you were just switching between British and American English all the time.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yeah, now you understand why I didn't understand them at first. So yeah, that was probably the first years. It was quite traditional, quite traditional.
And would you say you started to learn a lot from those classes, or like were they just useless?
No, it would be unfair. I think they helped me to build a base, so I wasn't too afraid of the language, and it started made me feel curious about it. So I wouldn't say that thanks to those lessons I learned to speak the language, but they gave me a bit more of tools. So when I was, listening to music or looking for books or looking for material, or when I then uh, traveled abroad, I feel better, like I had something at least. But I wouldn't
Mhm.
say that I got fluent because of those lessons. That's the truth. That's my case.
Okay. And then you took those classes from 16 years old until when?
Oh wow, that last 2 years. Then I started university,
Okay.
and during university I took a course, but it was part of the program of my career, my undergrad diploma. So that wasn't the same type of lesson. It was a bit more focused on my topics. So yeah, 2 years, and then here and there I just kept checking some things in English, and I had to read lots of papers. And I was supposed to, so I got good at reading, and I was supposed to understand all of it to then make my own text in Spanish again, right? But the information was in English, so you just had to go there and read some papers and stuff. So I kept using English, but not actively taking lessons or thinking that I was progressing. It was just kind of survival during some years.
Okay. Okay. So that undergrad class you said was that in Spanish or was that in English?
It was in Spanish, but
It
when
was
you need
okay.
to, I studied literature, the history
Mm,
of literature, poetry, etc. And sometimes, for example, if you had some European books that you had to read, some of the research was made in English
that's
by
interesting.
people from different places. So I had to read it and organize all the information, maybe use some quotes in English, but it was mainly written in Spanish because we were learning all the program was in Spanish originally.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it was there, but it wasn't.
Okay. So then you didn't take any more English classes then after that?
After that, those traditional ones helped me to get into a program. I traveled to Jamaica. And that was the moment that I felt I could really communicate in English. So I applied for this program. It was a volunteership. So I had to teach Spanish, and they will teach me English at the university. It was just
Wow.
beautiful. It was perfect. And it was part of the government thing. So I was studying in a public university. So that was my chance. And I had an interview, and I had to say some things in English, like, yeah, I want to learn, and it would be a great opportunity for me, blah blah blah. And somehow that helped, and I passed. I think I was probably in an A1, A2, B1 level, like could express some stuff, but it was still with a lot of doubts and things and strange words being used. But that got me the opportunity to travel there to Jamaica, and that was the moment that I felt that I was learning English finally. Yeah.
Wow. I've never heard of that kind of program before in Jamaica.
I know. I know. It's one of those strange things that just were meant to be honest, because I think they didn't renew it after that. They did it for, no, they did it for 3 years. And I was in the second year. I went to the second year of that program. And then, politics, they changed and
Mhm.
they didn't do it again.
So were there only Colombians or Spanish speakers there learning English, or were there other people from other countries as well trying to learn English?
It was specifically a program for Colombians. So yeah,
Oh,
there was a group of Colombians that traveled to Jamaica to teach Spanish and and to learn English as well. So yeah, always with the same people.
that's a very unique experience.
Very unique. Absolutely. Yeah, when I say that, it's like, how did you do it and how could I do it as well? It's like, I'm so sorry, but it's not existing anymore. Such a shame. But yeah.
Could you dive a little bit more into that experience as far as like the the teaching process? Like how was that?
It was well, you definitely we had the immersion, the daily things that you had to solve in English. So for me, that was a big part of the learning process to just to feel less fearful of going to the supermarket and being asked about points and receipts and things like that. But also solving some aspects of how I'm going to teach my language in English, right? How I'm going to build a bridge
Hmm.
between what I know and the language they know. So that was another part where I learned a lot. And the the lessons that I was receiving in the university were more practical. They were more connected to, you know, real material. We're watching movies, comedy, things like that. We're chatting, preparing CVs. I remember a lesson that they prepared where we had to apply for a job in English. So we had to do the motivation letter, all that stuff, and that started to help me to really understand how to express my own ideas and understand the grammar, but in context, to do all of that in English. So definitely those months, because it wasn't a long program, it was 8 months that I stayed there. That those really
Okay.
helped me. Yeah.
8 months though, that's quite a decent amount of time to learn a new language.
It is, it is. But of course, I imagine that some people would have done it better, or if I stayed longer, maybe my English would be way better now than it is now. Yep.
And I think I've only been to Jamaica once, but it was for a few days for a cruise. So that doesn't really count. But I assume like their accents, right, in Jamaica are different from like American accents.
They are different to any accent. Like Caribbean accent is unique on its own, and they also have. I don't know if you noticed that the patois, this mix of languages,
Mhm.
because of being Caribbean islands and all the history that they had been receiving languages for centuries to the point that they have a dialect that is not English. It's like when you listen to Sean Paul singing, I realized that. I always wonder why I never understand Sean Paul. And it's like, because he's not speaking English necessarily. It's a dialect. So that was part of it. Sometimes I didn't know if I didn't understand what they were saying because of my English or because they were speaking patois. That was a
Mm.
constant wonder I
Wow.
had. So yeah, the beginning was frustrating because I didn't want you know, to make them feel bad because I wasn't understanding. Sometimes that happens, that you as the learner feel guilty because of not understanding the native.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to make them feel bad, but I also was constantly wondering, are they using English, only English, or they are using some words that come from patois? So yeah, it was good fun. And the accent, I got used to it. It's a bit more like British-like in some aspects. So
Oh,
that
really?
helped me when I came here. Yes, yeah, you will use, for example, there was a brand of water that say water, water. It wasn't water or water. It was water, like WOTA. Loved it. I think
I
I
love
got a
it.
picture of that. I don't know where is it, but it's just like water. So that was the brand, and that tells you a bit of the pronunciation that they had there.
So where does like their accent rank with the other accents in the English language and other English speaking countries, like as far as like difficulty to understand?
You mean how I feel that accent is in comparison to the other ones, or
Yeah. So like do you think you can understand Jamaicans that speak English more than Americans that speak English or English people that speak English
well,
or
that's a good
Australian
question.
English?
I know. That's a good question. I've been exposed to so many different accents that now it's fine. I would say that the Caribbean is a difficult accent. It always will be because of the speed of it and what I say, because of the slang that comes from patois constantly. It was tricky. Now I understand it, of course. I don't know which one it would be I could compare it with. I would say that some American accents, some places are the easiest for me.
Hmm.
Canadians, maybe Canadians are quite easy to understand. Yeah, so I would put even Canadians like the easiest, and the Jamaicans, even if I live there, I wouldn't put them in my top. Even if I was used to listen to them, I still struggle. Yeah, and British, well, it depends which British accent we're talking about. So yeah.
That is fair. I don't know all the different British accents at all. To me, they all kind of sound the same. Like for me,
I
I don't know the
I
difference at all. I couldn't tell.
Well, you would say that, but people think that they all speak like in London, like the Queen thing, right? The very posh thing, and then you move north a bit more. I live more in the north of the island, and now it is completely different. It's like just listen to an interview from John Lennon, for example, and you will say, yeah, he doesn't speak like the Queen. It's just different. It's another speed, another slang, another things, and Liverpool is one of the most difficult accents for me yet to understand. So, anyways, but that's just a specific regions. And
Mhm.
Scottish, well,
Yeah, that's
have you heard that? That's
yeah,
UK as well, so it's
yeah.
very difficult.
Hmm. Good,
Yeah.
good points, good points. Met a few, I don't know how you say them. Is it like Scottish people or Scots? I'm not sure, but could
Yeah,
not
both
really
work.
understand them. No, they were laughing
Yeah,
at me. I'm just like, nope, I don't understand what's going on here. If you're telling a joke or
yeah, but I wanted to tell you that because if that happens to you, it happens to me as well in Spanish. I'm from the Indian region of Colombia, from the mountains.
Mhm.
And when I go to the coast, to the Caribbean coast of my own country. I had to work. My job made me travel inside of Colombia for a while, and I remember I had to go to the coast and deal some business thing like confusions weren't allowed, and even with that, even with another Colombian, but because of being from the Caribbean coast, sometimes I couldn't get everything. And I was just thinking, my God, but that's my language. And I'm supposed to understand it. So if that happens to you with some accents in Spanish, don't worry. It happens to me as well with some accents in Spanish. So yeah, just life.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Just how many different accents that exist in the world and dialects. It's insane.
I know, it's endless. It's endless.
And would you say you became fluent by the time you were finished with that program in Jamaica?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, you always have some insecurities, good days, bad days. I've always say that, like, the fact that I'm speaking in English with you today doesn't mean that I'm always that relaxed or that efficient. My brain is not always that efficient. So sometimes I just come back to, well, I wouldn't say square one, but I feel that I'm not really fluent.
Hmm.
So yeah, maybe after Jamaica, I was able to keep a conversation in Spanish, in English, sorry, and feel comfortable. Yeah, probably that was the moment.
Okay. And how would you define fluent?
That's why I was thinking about how could I say that I was definitely fluent. I would say that it's about that confidence that you can solve the problem, that you could express the idea. I don't think that fluency equals perfection in terms of grammar or in terms of pronunciation. It's more about the efficiency of getting the message transported in a good time, like not taking half an hour to say one sentence or a very short sentence. It's
Hmm.
about that efficiency in terms of speed that feels comfortable and that the information is well communicated. I think that that's for me what I could define as fluency. There are some people who are, I mean, maybe some will disagree with what I'm about to say, but I feel that there are some people who are fluent in Spanish, in my case, with my students, even when they are in lower levels because they get those tools in a way that they use them and they transmit information very well, very relaxed, happy with their sense of humor. And there's some people who are in higher levels that maybe understand very strange and complicated concepts of grammar and are still doubting and not being able to say anything. They are not fluent, and the ones in A2 sometimes they are more fluent. That's the way I look at it. I don't know. And how do you define fluency in your case?
For me, it always has been, I won't say it always has been, but now my definition of fluency is really being able to express myself as I do in English, but in Spanish. And then also has to do with like my pronunciation too. So it's not like it's comprehensible. And I also can communicate enough to the point where I can be in a Spanish speaking country and I don't have to use English. So that's kind of my
Yeah.
definition. So like once I knew I was able to, be in a Spanish speaking country, I don't have to use English at all. Like I have enough vocabulary. I'm able to ask enough questions where I don't have to go back to English. I'm like, okay, yes, I'm fluent. Even though I'm still struggling a lot to understand people, or I don't know all the words. But like I can still just, defend my Spanish. I'm like, yeah, I know. Me defiendo.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Yeah, well, I would say that I'm fluent in English unless I go to certain environments. When I go to the dentist, I'm not fluent because how do you explain? Yeah, so it depends a lot in which environments in that English or Spanish speaking country you are, and then you feel if you're fluent or not. Yeah, so
Exactamente.
if yeah, if my car goes broken, I probably won't be fluent trying to explain to the mechanic what happened or the noises or things like that. Yeah, depends a lot on the setting, I would say.
Exactly. I think those experiences definitely have gave me different perspective on like language learning and how much do I really know. It's like, okay, I can have a conversation with you in Spanish about, movies, TV shows,
Yeah,
music, video games, sports. But then again, like you said, if I go to the dentist, if I go to the hospital, I'm gonna be like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to explain this. I don't know what they're, telling me. So it's really weird.
yeah, yeah. Those are the moments that I feel that barrier. It happens to me that maybe it's also in a moment when you have lots of emotions involved, then you don't know how to express all of that. I've found myself many times saying to my husband, like, it's just too difficult to explain right now. Like, I know what happened and it will take me like maybe half an hour to explain it. So let me organize it and then we chat because of
Mhm.
being in another language. So it's just more difficult to express some things also when emotions are involved. Stress or because you hit your leg again, or table or whatever, then you have to explain it. It's frustrating.
Exactly. And talking about emotions, did you have a lot of like or did you face a lot of different emotions throughout your journey learning English? So for example, did you experience or feel stress, overwhelm, pressure, embarrassment, those types of challenges?
Yeah, all of them, I would say. So the frustration was, for example, that moment when I listened to this TV in English and I thought this will never happen. Like probably will be able to talk, but the moment they start speaking, I will get lost. That was very frustrating and I felt sad for a while. I just thought, I don't understand the music. Like I like music in English, but I still don't know what they're singing in the lyrics. Then I understood that even some native speakers don't understand what's happening in the lyrics, and I felt better. But in that moment, I was just thinking, it's not going to happen. I cannot even watch a show. So probably is just too difficult to understand English speakers. That was frustration. In terms of stress, when when I was in Jamaica, I had a neighbor. I was living in the campus of the university, right? And I had a in the same floor there was a guy living next uh, door. I don't know how you say that. It was kind of next door, but it was in another side of the building. He was from Fiji. Like he wasn't from America, not even from Australia, not even from Jamaica, which all those accents were already strange enough for me. He was from Fiji, like an accent that I'm sure very few people have heard in their lives, like how people from Fiji speaks. and he was asking about a football game, something like that. And he was saying something, and we were on the lift or elevator or whatever, and he was talking, and I came back from work. I was very tired. It was probably 7 p.m. And I look at him and I just tried to understand. And I was feeling bad that I had to say, I'm so sorry, Richard, but I just don't understand what you mean, and I'm so tired. But I was feeling so sad and stressed because I couldn't manage the situation, and he was very excited.
Yeah.
But I remember that that moment was awkward because of that, because I really wanted to understand, but my brain was, was dying. Like battery was running very low, and he was talking with his accent, very excited about the football game. Yeah, I remember that. That was funny. That was funny. And misunderstandings. I said to a lady that she, in a fancy meeting with an ambassador or something like that, because when you do volunteerships, you have to do some stuff like that. And she had a necklace, and I made the comment, and you can imagine, I say, "Oh, you've got a beautiful color." She just looked at me like, and then a friend told me like, "No, you just said something wrong." So that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. So I'm sorry. Things like that. I mean, misunderstandings. Right now, I just remember those, but definitely they're very frustrating and very stressing because you don't know what to do after that when you realize it's too late.
Mhm.
Maybe you created an unnecessary, strange, and uncomfortable moment because of your idea of what that means, but because your language, your native language, is just contaminating the meaning. Yeah, those are the moments full of misunderstandings that I could think of. Just thinking if I've had experienced other types of emotions, negative ones, positive ones, yeah. Like English has helped me a lot, and I'm very happy for being able to speak the language. But about the difficult ones, no, no, anger sometimes, and
Mhm.
anger after the frustration. But that happens when you're learning any new skill. Like I like playing the guitar, and sometimes I have experienced all those, maybe not misunderstandings, naturally, but the other ones, frustration, anger, happiness, sadness, because learning something is not a linear process, and it's not always, you cannot compare it with anyone. So if someone is doing better, you look at them and you say, oh, I want to be able to do that. So yeah, it's full of emotions. It's not only with languages, I think.
And do you have any advice for that? Like how to overcome those types of emotions, or I guess not maybe overcome, but how to deal with those types of emotions that may be very negative when you're learning a language?
I think is uh well, the reason I'm going to tell you this is because I've noticed that many people have false expectations about learning. I don't know why, and I think that's the region. So more than lear giving advice on how someone could deal with those emotions or how to overcome the frustration or things like that, is just to have realistic, expectations about what learning a language or anything is. It's just that we look online, probably on YouTube or anywhere, and people are learning. I learned to speak Italian in 3 hours. There's a competition there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so someone who already speak this language is saying, yeah, no, I'm going to learn Spanish in 3 weeks, or this always with a three. We have something with 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, three, whatever. And because of that, we believe that if we experience these frustrations or things like that, it's because we're doing something wrong, or we're not good at languages. Maybe language is not my thing. Or, yeah, I see Joshua doing great in Spanish when I look at the Instagram, and then I'm still not able to say a word. So we're comparing each other constantly. And I think it's just those emotions are going to be there. It's part of the process of learning. There's no way to escape from them, but
Mhm.
just embrace the process because it's going to happen. And I still sometimes feel very annoyed with my English. It's just like, even if, I mean, I make mistakes, but I'm able to express my ideas. But even with that, sometimes I just get very frustrated because my sense of humor doesn't translate and I'm saying a joke and nothing happens. Very sad, very sad thing. Or because I'm just tired and I would like to say something and look smart, look intellectual, and I can't. So yeah, those emotions are going to be there always. It's just the way it is.
And did you have any difficulties with speaking due to grammar? Like, so for example, when I was, learning to speak Spanish, the grammar that I learned was really confusing me on how to speak. So I always think like way too much before I would speak, and it wasn't like fluent, it was very choppy. So did you have that kind of experience, or was it better than mine?
No, well, I'm not a perfectionist in terms of speaking. Uh, when I speak, I'm not expecting it to be perfect necessarily. I want it to be, and I work on it. I will tell you how, but I don't allow my monitor, because this is this crusher concept of learning languages, that we have a monitor who's always telling us the right way, and sometimes it gets the process slower because of that. I don't let my monitor now to ruin my day, right? Or my message. But when you experience that, it could be because you have been overloaded with grammar, and sometimes you give grammar no, it's important, but it's like the importance that is just too big, right? And so that monitor is always telling you like, no, but the subjunctive was there, right? Ah, you forgot that one. Oh, you have to say this in, I don't know, an imperative of all these Spanish things that we have, or the past tenses, right? Like, that was the other past, and things like that. Um, so yeah, it could affect your fluency. Your monitor could affect your fluency. Or what I do is, I think I'm going to work on an aspect. So I still take English lessons. I have a tutor, and the same way online and all this stuff. And we work on a specific mistake. So for me, it's prepositions. Prepositions in English and Spanish and anywhere is just so different, and they don't have a direct translation. It's just the way it is. So I say, I'm going to work on these five. And I try to make a conversation with my tutor with those prepositions. I force the conversation. Sometimes I put a preposition there. The topic just allows me to put something there, and I try and I put it. But I'm not expecting to do the other 1,000 prepositions with verbs well, just a bit of a time. So that's how I improve my grammar, but I don't leave my monitor to you know, uh, ruin the moment. I don't know if that would help you as well, if or your monitor is still like a very strong, shadow behind you looking at you and saying, no, don't do that.
I'm doing better.
Yeah,
I'm
well, that's
doing my
great.
yeah, I'm doing my best to quiet the monitor. I like the way that you describe it as well, like a monitor, because exactly what it is. It's just like no, no, yes, yes, no.
Yeah, it's like an annoying guy pointing, like, just solving. And yes, it's an annoying one that we have there. Well, it's like the angel and the devil that you have on your shoulders, kind
Uh-huh.
of that, but with languages. So one is telling you, don't worry, just do it, just try it, just say the things, and the other one, but it could have sounded better if you use this or this. Too late, by the way.
And what have been some of your favorite resources to learn English?
Yeah, good question. I like, because of my own skills or interests, I like reading. So reading gives me a lot of vocabulary. Something that I admire about English language is how broad the vocabulary is. That's the part I like to enjoy. So reading has helped me to find words and connectors and things like that I wouldn't listen in, on TV. Um, I enjoy using content. So the way I got used to the British accent and all the different British accents was through TV. I got to be honest, to the day I still watch TV with subtitles. I'm not competing in terms of because those subtitles help me to understand and to compare the sounds. So I still use them. So yeah, TV, I would say TV, books. And well, my tutor, of course, we have to give him some credit there. Thank you. If he's watching this, he will be looking like, hmm. So yeah, being able to keep conversations around some topics that allow me to fix some specific grammar or chunks or prepositions things with him have been great. So yeah, because it's someone who's ready there to correct you and is not going to feel bad because of doing it. It's just going to say, well, you could say this way. And he speaks Spanish very well. So he says, I can see that you are using the Spanish logic here. So yes, it's understood, but in English we say this way. And it's like more natural this way. So having the opportunity to talk to a native speaker who could, point out those little things that need improving is what at this level has helped me a lot.
And how did you improve your accent in English? Was that a challenging thing to do?
I I don't know because of music. I have an old recording of myself speaking in English when I was in this intensive thing when I was 16. And yes, my accent was very funny. Now that I look back, it's like, yeah, that's so cute because I was learning. I wish I did what you did, that is to record my whole process. But back then, to have a camera, I think I lent it from someone to do that video because it was for a
Uh,
homework. So that's the only source of my old English, the one that I have. So yeah, definitely I can say yes, I improved my my accent and my pronunciation. I think because of music is something I enjoy, and sometimes I just play with it. I'm going to say this. Uh, it's a funny thing. I read some books depending. It's going to sound very silly, but depending on the author where they're from, I try to read it out loud, imitating the accent of the author. So if it's American, I
okay.
try to make an American accent when I'm reading what I understand as an American accent. And if I'm reading a British one, I try to do the British accent. What I understand is the British accent. So that is just a game that I have with myself, to be honest. No one knows this. You're the first one I talk about. I mentioned this topic too. So that's something I do, but I'm not expecting to have an accent that people don't notice that I'm a foreigner. That's not my goal. Some people have that goal, and that's perfect.
Hmm.
But I don't mind. I want to be understood. I want to be clear that people don't say like, "Oh, would you repeat that?" Because my accent is too strong, too influenced by Spanish phonetics that is not clear. I don't want that. But I don't want people to say, "Well, you speak as an American, and you speak as a British, you speak as a Canadian." That's not my goal. I like the conversation about, "Oh, where are you from?" I enjoy that. Don't feel bad.
Hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense. A lot less pressure that way.
As well. Well, and why would you like to? Well, that's another topic, but why would you like to delete it? I think Latin Americans, we have that goal because for many years we received that information that if you were able to merge, your your accent, in American accent specifically, you are going to do better at work somehow.
Hmm.
So yeah, like people, English speakers, will look down at you if they notice that you have a strong Latin American accent. So if you look online and you look for pronunciation coaches with American accent, they're like probably, I don't know, like 90% of the ones that exist in the world, and the other 10% is for Australians and British and the other ones, right? Because apparently the coaches for pronunciation, it was about the American accent. But I just think that this is not. I don't want to play that game. I just think it's not good. And why would you? There is a bit of DNA in the way you speak and in the tone and rhythm of your conversation, that even if you have a good sound of vowels or consonants or things like that, the rhythm you talk is like an Italian or an Argentinian or a Chilean or me as a Colombian. There is a way we finish sentences that are a proof that we are from that place. Why do we want to get rid of that? I don't know. That's my personal opinion, but that's how I look at it.
Yeah, it could just be due to kind of, embarrassment. I can say like for myself, right? Or for a lot of maybe, maybe a lot of English speakers in the US, we don't want to have like a gringo accent, like there's so many jokes about it, right? So I think it kind of
Well,
has to do like with the perspective. It's like I don't want to sound like a gringo if I go to a Spanish speaking country, that kind of thing.
absolutely no, and don't get me wrong. I think that, for example, I don't want to have a Sofia Vergara accent either. Like that's too strong for me. It's like no, I don't want that. But I would like to be able to get some vowel sounds better and make them clearer. But I won't be seen as an American. Or the people say, oh yeah, well of course you were born here. While I'm on holidays in the USA, I think that I don't want to get to that point. That's it.
Hmm.
But yeah, to improve my pronunciation, yes, that's brilliant, and I always celebrate that because I do it. That's why I say I like to play with accents, but not to the point of deleting the rhythm of my conversation. That is the most complicated part. The intonation and all of that is what takes longer to get rid of if you want to get rid of that. Yeah.
Mm. Or like the intonation of like your natural accent.
Yes, exactly. So
Okay.
I'm not talking about the phonetics. I think that the phonetics are important.
Hmm.
You are not going to use your language, for example, in Spanish, our five sounds of the vowels in English. It just doesn't work. It just creates a lot of misunderstandings. So now I think that the terms of pronunciation and the vocalic sounds and all of that should be something we work on. But the intonation, the way we make, the way we finish sentences, the lines, all of that, that's something that it's the most difficult thing to get rid of. And I'm not pretty sure if it's going to be necessary, right? So that's the part. It's about the intonation. Maybe it wasn't completely clear, but yeah, I celebrate the clearness of the words that people
Hmm.
don't think, is he saying this or this? Or in Spanish, is it going to be present or past? No, well, you have to do the accent, the graphic accent, you have to go there and make it clear, please.
Uh-huh.
But I don't mind if that person has this little rhythm of talking that says, yes, I'm from France, or yes, I'm from uh, the USA, or I'm from Germany. I think that's nice. That's that DNA that I wouldn't like to get rid of, But maybe it's just a romantic and people should. I don't know.
Hmm. I like that. I like that perspective. And how did your English learning journey evolve when you moved to the UK?
It improved. Uh, I mean, of course, having more opportunities to talk and to use it again, because my distance between my trip to Jamaica and when I moved here was big. It was probably 6 years between them. So I was working with foreigners in my country. I was already constantly speaking with people from different parts of the world, using
Fair.
English as our bridge to communicate. So I was constantly using it, but moving here helped me to get more comfortable with some cultural aspects as well, which is something I couldn't do back in Colombia when I was working with foreigners, and embrace some of those expressions. I think that in terms of expressions and that the sense of humor, those cultural things, that's something that I felt my English improved in, like in that aspect, the cultural aspect. So yeah, more than grammar or well, maybe some politeness things that of course you have to learn when you're here. And in Spanish where you used to say, yes, I want this, please. And that's something that doesn't sound too great in English by default. So you have to play with another things. You get used to those formulas, some of those grammar things in specific contexts. That's something I improved when I came here and start using it every day.
Bonito.
Muy bonito.
And would you say learning how to speak English in like a job setting is different or more difficult than just like having a conversation with someone like, on the street or, on the train or at, wherever you are?
You have different. Um, the only word I can think of is protocols. Maybe it's not the best one, but yeah, it's like when you write an email, then you have different rules, like unspoken rules That's why I was thinking about the protocol. Some unspoken rules in specific settings. So when you are using your second language at work, you have to be careful about those levels of politeness, formality that sometimes you are not aware of. Like native speakers are very, very clear about that. Like, for example, the use of tuo usted that confuses everyone because it changes depending on the place you are, the country you are, everything, and the setting, and blah, blah, blah. Things like that are logical for native speakers, but that because you're speaking a second language, you're sort of blind to that you really don't feel the difference. But if you express yourself wrongly, they're going to notice and look at you. I think those cases is when you have to be prepared. At the street, maybe you can use any, and if you ask for directions or you are talking with the guy in the bar, and if you are too polite, they just laugh and they just keep the conversation. That was too polite, but it doesn't matter. But at work, definitely your image as a professional is going to depend sometimes on those things. Unfortunately, I think that is a bit silly because if you're not speaking your native language, people should understand that. But the unconsciousness of speaking a second language for people who has never spoken a second language is huge. They just look at you and it's like, why are they speaking to me like that? It's like,
Yeah.
wow, but because it's their second language, it's not easy. It's not easy. So yeah, people who only speak one language, they don't understand all these processes, and they just look at you and base their opinion on the way you speak and express yourself. So yeah, it's important to know how to do it, at least the basics of it.
Ok, y ahora cambiamos a español para unas preguntas
Okay.
rápidas.
Okay.
¿Qué es lo que más te gusta de Colombia?
Bueno, clásico la comida, sí, da a las personas la comida, pero me gusta, es muy extraño siempre esto, pero el clima, la constancia del clima, para mí, por mi, por mi hábito, yo creo, es algo que aprecio, poder decidir el clima de alguna forma. Si yo estoy en Bogotá, tengo un clima constante, digamos, una temperatura constante todo el año. Y si quiero playa y mar y etcétera, puedo viajar a la costa. Inmediatamente tengo otra temperatura, otro estilo. Quiero ver la nieve, voy a las montañas muy altas y inmediatamente. No, no dependo de las estaciones. Me encantan las estaciones en el norte, en el hemisferio norte, pero, pero me gusta la libertad que tiene la parte central del mundo, de la constancia de la temperatura. Es algo tonto, pero sí.
Ok. ¿Y qué es tu género de música en inglés favorito?
Género de música. El rock posiblemente
El rock.
me gusta. El jazz también me gusta mucho, pero el
Ok.
jazz clásico.
Mm.
Aprendí mucho inglés con ese tipo de
Oh, ¿en
música, me
serio?
parece muy romántico, muy bonito. Sí, esos dos, rock y
Ok.
jazz, yo creo.
Ok, qué interesante. ¿Y tienes un consejo a los estudiantes de inglés?
Ah, repito, la paciencia y la curiosidad. Es que si no tienes curiosidad por los aspectos culturales de las personas que hablan esa lengua, va a ser muy difícil conectar o interesarte por ese tema. Yo creo que muchas personas que aprenden inglés están aprendiendo porque tienen que aprender, porque es importante para la vida, ¿no? Es básicamente el mensaje en Latinoamérica. El inglés es importante para tu vida, pero no saben qué, qué cosas interesantes existen detrás del idioma. Entonces nunca se conectan emocionalmente. Yo creo que esa conexión emocional de decir, me encanta cómo las personas en este país hacen esto, o, una curiosidad sobre, no sé, sobre Australia, qué chévere, o ellos dicen de esta forma. Ese gusto, esa conexión emocional, la diversión que genera aprender, yo creo que es lo que nos falta a muchos estudiantes de inglés, porque no nos conectamos realmente con la cultura de las personas que hablan ese idioma.
¿Y cuál es el próximo lenguaje? o idioma que vas a aprender?
Buena pregunta. Yo tengo una relación tóxica extraña con el francés. A veces aprendo y sí, y otras veces me frustro y lo dejo. Entonces vuelvo y me gustaría tener un buen nivel de francés por satisfacción personal, yo creo,
Ok,
definitivamente.
yo también.
Bien. Tu francés es mejor que mi francés, estoy segurísima.
Oh, no, yo no creo. Yo, yo no sé muchas palabras de verdad
Pero
y
yo veo
pocas
tus
frases.
libros. Tú tienes libros,
Sí,
lees constantemente.
pero yo no practico. Eso es mi
Ah,
problema. Ujú. Yo no practica hablar en francés casi
ay,
nunca.
sí. Y la pronunciación del francés. Pero bueno.
Ajá, es muy distinto.
Sí.
Sí, bueno. Muchas gracias por la conversación. And how can the audience, reach out to you or learn more about your experience and what you do?
Well, I have a website. It is fluencylab.co.
Okay.
That's my Spanish language school, so people can get there, have a look about what we do, the other teachers that we have in our school, if they want to have a chat with us. So all the information is there, and my Instagram that is at fluencylab.co is pretty much the same thing.
Okay, perfect. I'll definitely put that information down below in the description. So just in case people want to get connected with you.
Yeah, great.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.